First story. 23 male virgin wanting to have casual sex, but would rather put more time and effort into getting into long-term relationship instead. I have never really seeked out and used dating apps to find casual sex, but have been thinking about searching for something casual lately, but I feel like I would rather put all my energy and effort into finding a long-term relationship even if it meant taking a little while, but the older I get the more worried I get about never having sex or even being in a relationship. Long story short, the main reason why I am still a virgin is because I dealt with bad depression and self-isolation for much of my later teens and early 20s, so I never was interested in seeking out women, but over the past year or two I have really worked on and focused on myself and gotten out of the funk I was in mentally, and feel like I am ready for a relationship. I have also just recently moved to a new city, so I have no social connections at the moment, which is tough, because if I had friends I could possibly meet women through them. The only real thing that still makes me worried is the fact I have never had sex or been in a relationship, and even though I am 23, I feel as if time is ticking in a way, and would want to just try to see if I can get casual sex, but I also would almost rather wait for a long-term relationship with a girl I was connected to. I am a slightly above average looking guy, but feel like the amount of time and effort trying to find casual one-night stands might be a waste of time and energy, and would rather put in 100% effort and see if I can find a more long-term relationship even if it takes a little bit longer. I am just worried I will not find a long-term relationship for a long time since I just moved to a new city and have no social connections to help me meet people. I have tried dating apps such as Tinder, but haven't had much luck since I am not in the top 20% or so of men based on looks alone, and I would rather prefer to meet someone more organically through friends, hobbies, etc. I feel like I would have missed out on having a young, wild life looking back when I am older, and it defiantly haunts me whenever I think about it. Sorry if this was a lot to unpack, but congrats if you made it this far. Too long, didn't read. Basically, I would 100% rather put in all my effort and energy into finding a long-term relationship, but I am worried that it might take a much longer time than just trying to find one-night stands and feeling as if time is ticking, and I am coming into my mid-20s. Coming into the whole dating scene as a late bloomer is tough, especially with the regrets I have of never having any relationships or sex. Any opinions or tips would be amazing. Thank you. Dating apps are like skip the dishes, it won't be hard to find someone. And a lot of ladies are looking for a long-term relationship. Take the time and date. If you really want to lose your virginity, trust me, it won't be hard on a little app called Tinder. And remember, swipe right means yes and swipe left means no go. My friend let me play with her Tinder because I'm married and just wanted to see what it was all about. She was like, sure, what could go wrong? My pics aren't working for me. And then my dyslexic drunk ass got it wrong. She's a pretty good looking lady, so she got some very excited responses. As a fellow late bloomer, I offer this. Take some time to think about the kind of partner you really want to build a long-time relationship with. What do you value in a person, and how you want to be treated? All the big and small things in between. Always keep it in the back of your head and remind yourself that's what you want in a partner. You remind me of myself, and keeping this in mind helped me better determine what I want out of my relationship, along with having friends that are in healthy long-term relationship to be role models. Since you're in a new city, focus on making new friends and connections first. Join clubs, groups, find activities to do. Potential women will come through this. You could also do dating apps, and to be completely honest, it'll be hit and miss. Maybe you land a date who's down for casual hook UPS. If you're really lucky, you might find your long-term relationship partner. I was on dating apps for 5 years before I met my current girlfriend, and we've been going out for a year now. It was a lot of dates and getting ghosted, relationship ideals not lining up, etc. You'll need to have a lot of patience to deal with dating apps. I hope this helps even a little. I wish you the best of luck. Second story. I 27 female lost my virginity to my now boyfriend 29 male 5 months ago. Haven't told him I'd never had sex before that. In late March I met a guy through Tinder. We really clicked, and on the third date we slept with each other. It was great and I really enjoyed myself, and that was me losing my virginity. I didn't tell him and thought I could tell him later if we kept on seeing each other. Another time post-ex he asked me how old I was when I lost my virginity. I think I said 20. I don't even remember. I hate lying about stuff. But I wasn't really ready to tell him. He lost his at age 14 or 15, and have had multiple girlfriends and long relationships in his life. I've had none which I've told him. I thought he might find it weird. He said he absolutely didn't and admitted not long ago the only thing he was thinking was that he was afraid that I'd grow tired of him since obviously I hadn't had any relationships before, and that might be the cause of that. In end of July, I asked him if he wanted to be my boyfriend officially, and he was so happy. I was so happy, honestly. Everything is going so great, and I love having him in my life. I had started giving up on that there was someone out there for me, but then he came into my life and it's been so wonderful. So for the reason I haven't had ex before, I simply don't think I've been ready to share that with another person before. A part of it is me being happy about my body. I have lost around 50 pounds in last 2 years, and is now normal weight. I know that's maybe superficial, but it is what it is. I've also always been very introverted when it comes to those types of relationships. I have an easy time making and keeping friends, I'd say. But romantic ones are a completely different story. Now for my question. What I need advice on: should I tell him he was the first person I've had ex with? Does it matter? Like, I don't mind not telling him in some ways, but I hate lying about when I lost my virginity. Pretending to know things I don't. Making up stuff about who's the oldest I've slept with, etc. I don't want to lie and make up stuff, but I don't want him to react badly to the truth, or that I'd lie to him about that. We have a great ex life. We do discuss that a lot and have ex frequently. Please ask if anything's unclear. And thank you. Edit. I wanted to stick in my edit here, don't know if anyone will see it, but hi. So I told him yesterday before we went to bed. First he was of course very surprised. He asked why and I explained. He asked if I had the change before. Which I've had. He took it super well and was very happy I told him, and said he understood why I hadn't told him at first. He said it was the mildest of white lies. He was so kind and sweet and just asked a few questions and also what I wanted to try next. I asked him if he would done anything differently if he knew. And he said he wouldn't have made a move for ex or came on to me when we started hanging out to make me not feel pressured at all, which I absolutely didn't, but just being extra careful with that. I think I love him. Too long, didn't read. I lost my virginity to my boyfriend 5 months ago and haven't told him the truth. I don't want it to change things between us, but I don't want to lie. It really doesn't matter. Any insecurity you or your BF might experience in that regard is irrational and can be dealt with if you just have honest and empathic communication. I think the biggest issue is that you have lied. Even if it is trivial. And for your own sake, you don't want to remember that for the rest of your life should things come to that. You say you trust this guy. So I would just make it a habit to come clean and set a good precedence for the future. Both by admitting to mistakes. And to drop any facade. You might face some awkwardness, and it might take some getting used to for him as well. But in a few days you should be over the entire thing, and you won't have to think that you carry some nagging secret anymore. Thank you. That's the worst part. I see a future with this guy. And I'm pretty sure he does with me too. So I'd rather tell him now than later. I do trust him, and I think what we have is strong enough to survive some awkwardness. The things I don't want is him to think I lie about other things, etc., which I don't. No one ever cares about the specific details. All that matters is the lying and hiding. Be upfront. Come clean and tell him. If he's the kind of guy who will care. Be turned off. Etc. Better to know that now. So you can move on. The longer you wait, the more it'll eat at you. And he'll pick up on it as an awkwardness around the relationship. Just tell him. And tell him you were scared of what he would think. If he gets angry, well, he was lied to. Let him go through his feelings about it. And when the dust settles, see where you can go from there together. Or otherwise. Third story. When to drop the virgin bomb. I'm a 25 female. I've just started to get back into the dating world post-COVID. Honestly, even pre-COVID I wasn't that far into the dating world. Anyway, I'm still a virgin and it's really been making me question things with dating. It's not that I don't want to have ex. But I've never been in a relationship. I've wanted to lucid with someone I care about and the situation has never presented itself. I don't like to talk about ex too much before the first date other than figuring out what both sides are looking for: relationship, hook up, etc. But I've had guys also get upset or really turned off that I'm a virgin. Don't believe me. And we'll just stop talking. Some have said that's something I should have mentioned beforehand, but that seems so soon to talk about even before the first date when we've already determined both parties are looking for a relationship, not a hookup. I've mentioned that it's not that I don't want to have ex. The situation has just never come up. They also don't believe that I've never been in a relationship either. I've never dated due to really bad confidence issues. I'm finally feeling confident enough to date serious, but all of this has really shaken that. Too long didn't read. I'm a virgin both relationship-wise and sexually. When should I tell a guy I'm interested in that I'm a virgin? Don't start by brining it up right away. You risk getting people who are interested in you because of that, which is going to attract some real creeps, and getting people who are frightened off because while there is nothing wrong with it, it is unusual. In other words, all those problematic reactions you've been getting. Instead though, it makes sense to have a conversation at an earlier point in which you say something to the effect of, physical intimacy is something important to me, and it isn't something I want to rush. I want to make sure we've built up some sort of connection, as I don't want to have sex with someone I don't at least care about. And who doesn't at least care about me? Are you comfortable with us waiting until we reach that stage? Similarly, when you start talking about your respective pasts, it's okay to bring up things like, when I was in X city studying, why I was really hyper-focused on school for Z reasons. Because of that I don't have as much relationship experience, or that's cool that you got to travel. I love solo trips and always thought that when I get into a more serious relationship I'd want to travel more with a partner. I haven't actually gotten serious enough with anyone where it got to the point of traveling though. In other words, you've dropped some clear hints that X has meaning to you and that you don't have much relationship experience. Which means it doesn't come as a complete surprise. You can keep building on this as you get closer with someone. So sharing that you've done some online dating, but you've never been in a committed relationship. For example, as things start to heat up you can say I don't have much experience doing this for things you have minimal experience at, say, kissing, if applicable. You can even work in some joking compliments, so I haven't kissed that many guys, and so I am not sure I am qualified to judge. But I have to say you're a great kisser. Then, before things get too hot and heavy, say that you haven't had X. I don't think the answer is lying by omission. But I do believe it shouldn't be a conversation for a first date, so you can screen out people first. What she may not realize when she does find someone who isn't pursuing her because of her virginity is the immense pressure you put on someone else by stating you're a virgin. What most people have already realized is that virginity isn't this huge thing. People that are still virgins, however, think much more highly of the first time they have X. When then puts pressure on the person they're dating when they're on the table to be the first one. It's an extremely unusual position to be in. And with that comes the awkwardness of explaining it to potential long-term partners. It's kind of one of those things you have to take on the chin because most people aren't willing to take on that kind of pressure so early in a relationship. It's typically why most of the stuff gets figured out earlier. I do concur with the above. And would also state sexual exclusivity is a very attractive trait for most men, demonstrates you won't go around sleeping around on them. You would have to balance that with modern expectations. I would not go out of your way to disclose your stance on this. But I would also recommend you do not lie. If directly asked on this, to state what your intended goals are. I would also recommend that unless due to religious reasons, to consider the needs of yourself and your partner. As sexual compatibility is also very important for a long-term successful relationship. Fourth story. Am I the a-hole for not telling the girl I love the truth about a mutual friend because I selfishly wanted to protect her? June 21st. Me, male 25. Fiona, female 20. Mark, male 21 and Hans, male 24 were a group of friends who met each other a year ago. We were all freshmen, and because of a learn group Hans started we became friends. After half a year, during the opening game of the European Cup in football, Hans told us, "Hey guys, I met somebody. And she is very cool, but there may be problem. She is my neighbor." Short explanation. He lives in a skyscraper in the 11th floor, and she in the 12th or 13th floor. He is kind of shy and gets nervous around women. Also, he told me later that night that he is still a virgin, which is completely fine, but he felt a little bit awkward about it. After that evening, he started to ask me for some advice, because I am not getting shy or getting nervous about anything at all. My mother always jokingly say because I am too stupid to feel shame and are more experienced than him. So I tried to give him the best advice as I could. July 21st, that went on for a month. It didn't work as he wanted. They met each other and spent nights with talking with each other, but he wanted more. And then it is getting weirder and creepier. It started with a rant about how stupid he is to fall in love with such a B word. How she is manipulating him, and how she dares to take other men to her home. And this was my first mistake. I should have told him immediately that it isn't okay, but I didn't because I didn't even realize how wrong and problematic his sayings were. And I still cannot answer the question why I didn't realize it. Because of that I am still feeling awful. So, Hans kept asking me for advice because he told me that she likes him too. They talked about it sometime, and I tried to advise him. To give some examples. He asked what he should write. How often should he write? Which of his date ideas for a potentially date are the best one, and of course how to deal with his virginity. Nothing harmful. I think. Just some questions from a person who is inexperienced, nervous, and anxious. August 21st. Then it is getting weirder and creepier. Another month passed. It still didn't worked out. Hans kept saying these awful things I mentioned above, although he is saying at the same time. She loves him too. A man as stupid as I am needed 1 month to get it, so at that point, I realized how problematic his sayings were. After that I realized more things, such as that he knew when she left her home, with whom she left her home, where she went, when she came home, and with whom she came home. He just told me these things. After she didn't respond to his texts, he started talking about intercepting her in the hallway, or just visit her without asking if this was okay with her. I told him to stop. He got angry at me. And I kept my mouth shut. I didn't talk to anyone about this. I just distanced myself from. Hans responded his following texts very short, like yes, no, I am fine, or something else. September 21st. After a month I couldn't kept it to myself. I was ashamed that I involuntarily played a role in Hans's stalking, and I needed to talk about it. I met Mark at the campus. I talked with him. Showed him the messages, and he couldn't believed it. I asked him, should I talk with Fiona about it? He said maybe, but if I do then I should do it in person. And now it is getting complicated. October 21st. First of all, October was stressful. I had the chance to get one of the scripts that I wrote getting funded. So, I had to finish the application for that fund. At the same time the new semester began. Every seminar was in presence in the last semester. All things related to university happened online. I hadn't the time to meet her. But at least I wanted to tell her that Mark and I are no longer friends with Hans, and he did horrible things in the summer. And I will tell her everything sometime. She accepted it and promised me not meeting him alone. And I thought maybe this is enough information because I wanted to protect her. I know it sounds stupid, but I don't know why, but I just didn't want her to know these awful, ugly things there are in a world. I am in love. It isn't an apology. It's just my explanation why I hid the truth from her. November 21st. I didn't get the chance to tell her everything and show her the messages because Hans told her after a fight between him and me, something that made her block me and Mark on every social. I don't know what he told her. I guess that he confessed it out of fear that I would tell her, and she got angry with me because I knew the whole time, but I don't know. I wrote her on iMessage the only way I could contact her after her blocking me and shortly explained what happened, but I didn't get a text back, which is fine. I just wrote this one message, and of course after that I won't try and contact her again. And now I am asking myself and you, am I the a-hole for not telling the girl I love the truth about a mutual friend because I selfishly wanted to protect her? How is not telling her protecting her? If you wanted to protect her, you should have told her. She's in more danger if she doesn't know. You're the a-hole. You should have told her. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.